Gen X, let's talk about the ultimate trade-off. What if you could time travel back to the 80s? But in the process, you'd give up some things. Everything from choice to convenience. And yes, everything on this list begins with the letter C. And as we go through this list, I want you to pick which C you'd most willingly give up for 1 year back in your high school days. Now let's start with C number 1. Okay, first on the list is choice. Now the sacrifice you'd give up would be endless shopping websites, hundreds of TV channels, every food brand imaginable available to you. Back then, in the 80s, variety was smaller. Fewer brands, not hundreds. Depending on which part of the 80s you travel to, you could be stuck with just 3 TV channels, or the beginnings of cable. Now, the 80s benefit that you'd get with this trip would be containment and clarity. There was a strange peace in that. There was less decision fatigue, less comparison. You didn't have to scroll through 47 streaming apps just to find a movie you wanted to watch. You just watched what was on. And somehow that was totally fine. Number 2 is convenience. The sacrifice you'd give up. No DoorDash, no Amazon Prime, no GPS rerouting your life. Back then, if you wanted something, you had to plan for it. No immediate gratification. But with this time travel trip back to the 80s, what you'll get in return is a cliffhanger. Waiting, it just made everything seem more exciting. You'd drop off your film at Kmart and you'd wait a week to see the photos. Getting lost on a road trip, well, hopefully that just made it more of an adventure. Ordering from a catalog and waiting 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. And it was such a thrill when the box finally arrived. If you wanted to know the showtime for a movie, you'd have to call and listen through the whole automated, pre-recorded spiel. Back then, you didn't need instant. You needed patience. And evidently, we had it in spades. That was until we discovered that we didn't have to wait anymore. Now that third C word you'd give up would be communication. In some more modern forms, that is. There's no texting, no FaceTime, no cheap or free long distance. But that 80s benefit that we had was closer connection. When the phone rang, you ran for it. Writing letters was fun, but getting letters was even better. I remember in my 20s, I moved about 250 miles away from my hometown. Me and my mom and my sister, we wrote letters to each other. And we would call each other once a week, but long distance was really pricey, especially on the budget I had in those days. But we wrote letters a lot. We were really present when we communicated with people back then. And we used our mouths a lot more than our fingers. And there's a presence in that we've lost. Number 4, we'd be giving up some control. Now the sacrifice that your time machine's going to take from you, no online banking, no webcams to watch your front porch or your new puppy, no price comparison shopping, no reading the reviews of an item before you buy it. But the 80s benefit you got was contentment. You had to balance your checkbook by hand. And if you overspent or overdrew, you found out the hard way. But let's be real. Being able to monitor every aspect of our lives, that hasn't brought us peace and comfort. If anything, it's made us all a little more neurotic. Less control back in the day, made for a more carefree existence. Okay, number 5 is comforts. Now the sacrifice on this chopping block, for one, it's going to be no perfect climate control, no instant convenience, no memory foam, no remote controls for everything, much less the TV. But you know what we got in the 80s? That was character conditioning. We were tougher. Cars, they didn't always have AC. I know my first car didn't. And I live in the South. Now, if that's not tough, I don't know what is. Growing up, sometimes the house was way too cold or way too hot. But you dealt with it. We didn't fall apart. We adapted. It gave us grit. And that's one thing that Gen X has never lost. Although I don't think I'd survive a car without AC today. Number 6 is customization. Now this sacrifice. No personalized playlists. No curated feeds. No recommendations. No instant streaming. No catalog of ringtones to choose from. But the 80s benefit was collective culture. Now this one is huge. We all watched the same shows growing up. We listened to the same top 40 songs. We talked about the same movies. We quoted them. That gave us something magical. It gave us a shared language. Everyone knew the same jokes, the same lyrics, the same moments, and that's how a generation bonds. And that's what makes nostalgia so freaking awesome for Gen Xers. I can bring up a memory and you all remember it. I can read a comment that one of you all makes and literally laugh out loud because I know exactly what you're talking about. Which brings us to number 7, which is connection or the lack of it. Number 7 is cyber connection. Now, if I was playing categories right now, I would get 2 points for 2 C's. I digress. Now, the sacrifice you're going to give up on this one would be the instant global news, the social media reach, the 24/7 updates, carrying a small computer in your pocket. But the 80s benefit is going to be core community. Our world felt smaller in the best way. You knew your neighbors, you knew your block, you hung out at the mall. Your network was your town, your school, your friends, just connection to what really mattered. So tell me, Gen X, which of these 7 C's would you willingly give up for 1 year back in the 80s? Drop your answer in the comments because I read them all. And I've got an entire playlist of nostalgia just waiting for you to flip through. Just click right here to take some trivia quizzes, revisit some of our gross habits, or even imagine the ultimate Gen X retirement home. Now, I appreciate every one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.